So welcome everybody to challenge number 5, Memorabilia Journaling Notes, creating a holding album. And this is sort of the second step to what you do once you've got some of those photos organized. And so just prior to the session starting, we talked a little bit about sorting photos and getting overwhelmed by sorting photos and seeing all the photos you have and really being motivated to scrap. And how do you sort of put, now that you've got those photos organized, or at least some of them organized, how do you actually get them ready to scrap and combine your memorabilia and journaling notes and all those things? And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So let's jump right in with this week's winner, Lori Langsdorf. Wow, that weekend went by quickly. Did manage to work a bit on sorting and reorganizing. I'm so glad I'm doing this. I'm very happy with the fact that I have more things in less space just by purging and categorizing things. Loving this, although I have a long way to go before I'll be completely done. Will that ever really happen, I wonder? So I would have to say no, because we're constantly adding things and new products are constantly coming out. And next month is the CHA show in Chicago, and that's where all the manufacturers release the new products that will come out in September and October. So always kind of an exciting time of year for us in the industry here, and probably exciting for you guys too, because new stuff is going to be arriving soon in your stores, new and cool stuff. So congratulations, Lori Langsdorf. If we don't have your email address, you may want to contact us at customer service at ScrapRack.com to get your coupon code for your $25 gift certificate. And with that said, just a little update on the new products. They will be here at the end of the month, so all things going right, we'll put them up on the website on the 15th, so you can start pre-ordering them, and hopefully we'll be shipping them out by the end of the month. So that all depends on U.S. Customs and our container getting across the ocean and all that good stuff. So there's your update for the week. So let's get started with the goals for this webinar. We want to make it easy to find journaling notes and memorabilia. We want to be able to add journaling and memorabilia to our digital photos, and also learn how to create a holding album for maximum efficiency. So here it is. That's step 1, gather. So I know, ladies, from personal experience that you probably have memorabilia in the side pockets of the driver's side door of your car, hanging on your refrigerator, tucked away in your desk drawers, stuffed into the junk drawer in the kitchen. Maybe there's drawers or boxes or something in your entry hall and sort of your launch pad area. So the first thing you want to do is all that memorabilia that's kind of floating around anywhere, you want to pull it all together and get it into one space, just like we've done for everything else. Now, one of the things that comes up oftentimes in this webinar is for those of you who have school-age children who are constantly bringing home stuff that, again, that motherly guilt that I talked about earlier before we were in session sort of takes over. We don't want to throw away any of our kids' artwork or any of their little ribbons or any of the stuff that they bring home from school or whatever. So, but obviously they bring home so much of it that you could get overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that they have. So a good solution for this is to give each of your children a Rubbermaid tote, and either store it in their rooms or their closets or in the garage, wherever you have space for it. Whenever they bring something home from school, it may spend a week or so on the refrigerator or wherever you put things up. And then when you take it down, you've got that Rubbermaid tote ready to go, and you can just throw it right into that tote. And that way, at the end of the year, you can sit down with your kids and let them pick the things that are most important to them, and you can choose also the things that are important to you. But you can really go through that stuff and bring it down to a manageable level if you sort of have a plan in place for it. So if you have school-age kids, one of those big Rubbermaid totes, and when I say big, I used a pretty substantial size one. I don't know, it was probably at least 2.5 feet long and probably 18 inches wide or whatever, at least 18 inches wide, I know, because I could put, or maybe it was long. Anyway, a big tote, and then you can throw everything in there all year long. You can write on it as you throw it in there, like the dates or whatever, or any comments that your kids made, and put it in there. But you'll find that just by having a place for it to go and a plan to execute at the end of the year as part of the cleaning out of the backpack and all that kind of stuff that you do at the very end of the school year, to go through that tote and have your kids decide what they want in their scrapbook or what they want to be, take a picture with and put in their scrapbook or whatever you do. And then you can easily clean out that tote and have it ready to go again for the next school year. And one of the nice things about that process is into the tote you can put special things for school like backpack, pencil box, lunch box, things that you won't use over the summer that you don't want to constantly be moving around their room and hunt for at the beginning of the school year. Put that in their empty tote. Empty tote goes in the garage or in the closet or wherever you store those. And when the school year starts again, you just bring it back out and you're ready to start using it again. So that's my little tip for that. So we're going to gather all our memorabilia. And then we're going to choose a storage system for that memorabilia. And you can use file folders, manila envelopes, or 12 by 12 boxes that you've emptied during the sorting process. You can, if you're a digital scrapper, you can just scan it and add it to your digital photo file as well. Now, I know some people scan it and keep the actual thing as well, because then they create sort of their own background papers and stuff using those bits of memorabilia. So whatever you like to do or that you know that you'll use, you can do that either way. Then you're going to sort and label all of those things. So you're going to add labels to your file folders or envelopes or boxes or whatever, and sort the memorabilia into those containers by event. So you may have a box that has all of the memorabilia for 2012 in it, and then within that box you have file folders or manila envelopes in chronological order. You want to put info on that envelope. That's the event name, the date, the location of the picture, whether they're physical or digital, and then the location of the journaling notes. We'll talk a little bit about journals too in just a minute. And then file or store the box, whichever it is, chronologically. Obviously, that's always my mantra, right? Put it in chronological order. Sorry, I had to pause for coffee there. Then what you're going to do is, as you're ready to work on a particular project, you're going to create a holding album, pulling all of those pieces together. Now, when we talk about a holding album, I don't have, all my stuff is not arranged in holding albums from start to finish, because I would have shelves and shelves full of holding albums. But what I do try to do is whatever I'm working on now goes into a holding album when I first start working on it. And then I have everything together in one place, and it's organized and easy to get to and very visible. So I don't have to constantly be digging through stacks of photos or digging through piles of memorabilia. I've already sorted them into how they're going to go. So a holding album provides a place for everything you need in one easy-to-access book. So I use, for my holding album, I use the Perfect 6 pages. Now, when I first started, though, I used 8.5 by 11. I started scrapbooking with Creative Memories. I did everything 8.5 by 11 in the beginning, and so I just used a regular 8.5 by 11 notebook. So, and inside the notebook, I just put pocket pages, so page protector from the office supply store. And then you can also go to a camera shop, and at camera shops they sell 8.5 by 11 pocket pages that have pockets in them that are 5 by 7 and 4 by 6 and 8 by 10, so that you can actually put those smaller pictures, into that smaller book if you're not using the 12 by 12 setup like this is. So those are available at 8.5 by 11. You just have to go to a camera shop to get them, and then you'll get the different pocket sizes. So one of the advantages, of course, to using scrapbook size, 12 by 12 size pages, is that they really accommodate scrapbook stuff. So I've got, you can see on the left side, I've got the Perfect 6 page. Now the Perfect 6 page has those, 4.5 by 6 1/4 pockets, which allows you to put 4 by 6 photos in there really easily. So each one of the pockets will hold multiple photos. So if you look at those pockets, each one is a double page layout. I have 6 pictures on each side of that pocket page. So essentially what I'm looking at here is 3 layouts and 3 double page spread layouts. And then I use the 12 by 12 pockets or the double extra long pockets or a combination of both to hold memorabilia. If I have something special that I purchased for that particular event, and when I say something special that I purchased for that event, it's something that's unique to and will only be used for that event, so that it's right in there with those pictures and the memorabilia. Now, if you create multiple albums, so I do an album for myself, and then I do one for each of my kids. So when I first start, I make this little grid. So this is a grid from a road trip that we did, where so for Disneyland, in the family album, I'm going to do 4 double-page layouts. I know some of you are gasping that at Disneyland you could do just 4 layouts, but that was my plan, to do 4 double-page layouts. And then for London's album, I was going to do 2 double pages, and for Max 2. So before I even started organizing my holding album, I decided how many layouts I was going to do for each event that we did on this road trip. And what that does is allow you to make really good choices about the pictures that you're going to choose and get them all lined up and ready to go. You don't want to debilitate yourself when you start working on a project by having 200 pictures when you know you're only going to scrap 12 of them. Go through that process first. We talked about that in photo sorting a little bit. And pick out the pictures that you're going to use. You can save the other ones, but now you've got those pictures ready to go. So I make this little grid that kind of guides me through the process of choosing pictures. It also really helps when I'm choosing, if I'm shopping and I'm choosing background paper. So in this case, what I tend to do is when I'm doing things for multiple albums like these, I'm going to do all the pages very similar so that the pages in the family album are most likely going to have the same background papers as the pages in London and Max's album. And I just do that for efficiency, right? So, but when I go to the store to buy Disney paper, I know that I'm going to need 8 sheets of background paper for the family and 4 sheets for London's album and 4 sheets for Max's album. So I can make a good choice right there that I need 16 sheets of paper. So I'm not buying 12 and then having to go back to the ScrapRack store to get more, or buying 20 and having 4 left over. So I'm really able to focus on what I need. So this little grid will help you in a number of ways. Same thing with embellishments. You know, if you're doing, Disney's a good example. If you're doing, you know, you want to do the castle embellishment on in everybody's album, you know that you're going to need 3 of those, you know, or you're going to need whatever, 6 pairs of Mickey ears or whatever, so that you can really buy efficiently when you're buying stuff. So then I sort the pictures into the pocket pages, and I put a little tab in there indicating the number of layouts that I'm going to do. So you can see families on the top, London's pockets are in the middle, Max's pockets are at the bottom. Now, one of the nice things about doing this is when those pocket pages are empty, I know that I've done those events for those people. So one of the problems with doing multiple albums is it's hard to remember that you've already done the pictures for Max, or have you done the pictures for London, or the family albums. So you end up pulling those albums off the shelf and flipping through to see where you are in that process. Well, sorting your pictures this way, when the pocket's empty, you're done. You've done those things, and you know that you can move on. The other benefit to that is, you can, if there's memorabilia left over, you can know that you're done, and you can throw that memorabilia away in good conscience. You don't need to store it away thinking, oh, maybe I haven't done Max's pages, or maybe I'll use this when I do the family album or whatever. Pockets are empty. You've done all the work. You can get rid of the memorabilia. Now, I mentioned about putting things together with these pictures that you would use for this album, and I would only put things with my pictures if they were specifically for that particular event. And I think I have some pictures of that here. I'm not sure. Let's see. As we get through here, I'll talk a little bit more about that. I think I have a picture popping up of it. So now here was a great suggestion from Jill Cooper. She was either the last session or couple sessions ago, and she creates a little template. And I think, let me see, whoops. Let's see, there's the pictures. Let me go back here. If I can, I think I have a little. So this is Jill's template, and this is posted up on the docs page of on the Facebook group. And I think there's also, if there's not a link to it on the website, I will put a link up to it on the website so that you guys can, if you're not part of the Facebook group, you can download it off there. So let me write myself a little note to Jill Cooper link here, because it is on the website too, so you can download it. But what she's done here is created these side by side, so 3 double-page layouts, and then given some little check boxes, do you have all of these things ready to go? So she could sketch out the actual ideas that she wanted to use, and she would know what she needed for paper embellishments and how many pictures and where they would want to go, and she put that right in with her holding album. So I thought this is just a great way to make it easy to, you know, sometimes we have these great ideas and we think about them and then we forget to write them down, or we don't have a place to write them down. It's not easy to write them down, so we don't do it. And then when it comes time to do that project, we can't quite remember that great idea. We might not even remember that we had the great idea. But anyway, so this is a great little tool to just add right into your holding album to make that happen. So, and I'll put a link to that on the website. There we go. So this is just an easy way to keep your ideas organized. So thank you to Jill for submitting that to me when she participated. She may be online with us today too. So here's pockets in your holding album with your memorabilia. So you can see different, there's SeaWorld, there's the San Diego Zoo, but it's all nice and neat and easy to get to. But this is what I was talking about for special products. So these products are specifically SeaWorld. I'm only going to use them for SeaWorld. They're not going to cross the threshold on other things for me. Now, again, depending on where you live, and you know, people are looking at this who live in California and go, oh yeah, I would use that again besides just SeaWorld. We might, you know, watch sea dolphins or whatever it is. It's all specific to who you are and how you scrap and what you do. So for me, I'm not going to use SeaWorld stuff any other time than when I'm at SeaWorld. So I put that in with the SeaWorld pictures right in my holding album. When I'm done creating the SeaWorld layout for this road trip, I'm going to throw all of that stuff that's left over into my purge box or into garbage or wherever it belongs, because I am done with those SeaWorld pages. My kids are teenagers. The chance that I'm going to go back to SeaWorld again before I have grandchildren are pretty darn slim. So I'm not going to use those things. And when I do go with grandchildren, hopefully, which will be a decade into the future at least, my kids are 14 and 16, so if they could wait till they're in their late 20s, that would be good. But I'm going to want to buy new stuff. There's going to be newer, cooler SeaWorld stuff. I don't want to dig through this for 10 years, so it's going to go right into my purge box. So that's one of the things as you come across, as you start to work on projects, if you have particular things, they can go right into your holding album so that you'll remember to use them and you're not looking for them. Now, I would not put generic things in here, because then if you're not working only on this, those generic things might get missed that could be used for some other project. So if it's specific to your project, go ahead and put it in your holding album. And if it's something you would use for a variety of things, don't put it in your holding album. Just keep it in your regular 4-section system, because you'll remember it when you're actually working on this particular project. So I use sticky notes to tag each event in the holding album. So these, rather than writing on the divider tabs or typing out labels, I know a lot of people use their label makers to create that label, and then they just peel them off and do the next holding album with the new labels. So either way is fine, but sticky notes were great, and they're pretty fast and easy. So this way I was able to break down each segment of the trip, put the photos, the memorabilia, any journaling notes that I had written down right in there, any special projects right in there. So now it doesn't matter if I'm working on the trip in order or not in order. I know, what I've completed, because those pockets are full or empty. The memorabilia is there or it's gone, those kinds of things. It really does make it simple, especially if you're doing a particular thing. Now, this was one long road trip that I took with my kids, but you can do the same thing if you're doing just your summer, everything that happened this summer, you can put it together that way, or, everything that happens in the school year for your kid, for a particular kid, if you're going to set that up, you can map out that whole thing. But the goal is not to create millions of holding albums, but to create a holding album for the projects that you're working on now, so that when you do sit down to scrapbook, you're not going around collecting things again for that project. They're all right here in one place. And when you walk away from the project, everything's still together in one place. The next time you sit down to work on it, it's all there as well. So, so the sticky notes work great for that. So then I put the chart in the very front of my binder, just in an 8.5 by 11 page protector, I think. No, actually, that looks like it might be in a in a 12 by 12, but you could just put it in 8.5 by 11. And then when you complete each layout, you can cross it off the list so that you know that you're done. And if you're at a crop or something when you're working this way and you complete those 12 by 12 layouts, you just keep some extra 12 by 12 pocket pages in the back of your holding album, and then you can put the finished pages in there so they stay all nice and clean and neat and pretty, and they're all still in order. And then when you get home, you can add them to your album. So just a simple way to keep all of those things together. So holding albums, whether you're doing 12 by 12 or 8.5 by 11, there's a lot of benefits to it. First of all, it makes it really easy to access things. You're not duplicating the handling of materials, going back and looking for things. Absolutely easy to go to a crop or scrap at home. Great way to shop because you have the pictures, the memorabilia, the journaling notes. You have you know how many pages you're going to do. So when you go to the scrapbook store, if you take that holding album with you, you can buy the right colors of paper and the right amounts of paper or other embellishments with you. And then, of course, if you're doing multiple albums, you don't have to rely on your memory to say, yes, I've done those pages, or no, I haven't. You'll know by whether or not there's products actually in the pocket pages for those. So before we talk about this week's challenge, I want to talk about creating your journaling notes, right? So you can have a handwritten journal, and then you just need to put a note with the photographs, whether they're digital or printed photos, about where to find those journaling notes. Are they in a handwritten journal on the shelf with these dates on it? How you're going to look for those things. Usually it's date-driven. One of the best ways to do a journal is to do it digitally, because if you do it digitally, you can sync your journal to your phone. So the nice thing about, so I'm in Word right now, right? Just do basic Word, Microsoft Word. I'm just going to open a new document and go through a simple process for journaling, electronic journaling. So you can just start a new document. I'm going to call it Tiffany's Journal. And I'm going to write here June 7, 2012. Now, consistency with the dates is key. So June 7, 2012 was Max's graduation. Max, 8th grade graduation. And then now the thing with June 7th, 2012 is that it's a little bit more complicated of a date. The important thing with the computer is that you know what to look for in different situations. So if it's easier for you to do a date like 06, 07, 2012, for your computer to search for it, you might want to do that. I would just be consistent with what you're doing. So Max goes to Wild Waves with class. And then 06, 18, 2012, London leaves for Japan. And 06, 21, 2012, Chantilly scrapbook show. Okay, so you can elaborate as much as you want. So I'm going to put that in as the main heading, and then I'm going to write Grandma Tamara joined us for Max's graduation, the 8th grade. Okay, I locked my thing. Okay. Grave. So here's the 8th grade did a fun Jeopardy type game about each student. So whatever you can journal whatever you want, and make it as long as you want and make it as short as you want. So the nice thing about doing it electronically is that it's really easy when you're on your computer to cut and paste things out of Facebook. If someone posted something on Facebook that you wanted to include as a journaling note, or you got an email from somebody with some information in it, you could cut and paste that and throw it right into your electronic journal. But it's really easy to at night or in the morning or whenever for you to just add a couple of notes about what happened that day. So you can do them as elaborately as you want or as simply as you want, right? The nice thing, though, about doing an electronic journal is that you can link it to your smartphone. So if you're somewhere and you're syncing your journal with your smartphone and you type in a journaling note on your phone, then the next time you sync the phone to your computer, it's going to add that information to the journal for you. So if you're keeping it synced and you're somebody who's really into the techie side of stuff, that makes an easy tool there. But the best thing about doing an electronic journal is the navigation or the search box over here. So this is just a short little page, so it's really easy to see everything that's on there. But if this was 100 pages of journaling notes that I've written over the last year, it might be more difficult to find that information, right? I might have to scroll through or whatever. But if you just go into the navigation page and you type in whatever you're looking for, it will bring you and highlight those words. So graduation was easy. I can type in Max, and it's going to bring me to the Max things. I could put in Japan, and it'll bring me to the Japan stuff. So it'll take you to anywhere in the document where those notes are. So as long as you're using major keywords in your journaling that you're also going to use to look for the journaling later, you're going to be able to find it quickly and easily. And then obviously you can write a note and put it with the pictures with the dates on it, and then that makes it easy also to go back in and actually look at, those particular pages without doing the keywords, or at least the dates are going to drive you there. So just a little bit of work, a few seconds of work in your journal is going to make it really easy to tie those journaling notes together with your albums. Now, I teach these classes all over the country, and regularly I say to people, how many of you are great journalers? And if you've ever been in one of my live classes, you'll see that almost nobody raises their hand. So one of the nice things, again, about doing an electronic journal is you don't even actually have to, if you're not a journaler, you're not getting journaling on your pages, but you can just go into your electronic journal, print out the page with what happened in those scrapbook pages that you're doing, and just glue it to the back of the layout. So years later, when people pull that layout out of an album, there it is on the back side, all of the details, who was in the picture, what was going on there. If you leave space on your page to journal later, you've got that page already stuck on the back so that you can actually read what was going on there and do that journaling Okay, I think I'm back. So if you can hear me, raise your hands. Let's see what we've got here. Perfect. Sorry about that. I lost my audio. Did you see my little note on the screen? Isn't the computer amazing what it will do? Okay, I'm going to put everybody's hands down now. Sorry about that. That was kind of crazy. All of a sudden my phone went completely quiet, silent. So doing the electronic journal makes it a lot easier to get some journaling notes attached. And so I know there are lots of people who don't like to journal for whatever reason. We all love the idea of journaling, but it's hard to actually do it. So this allows you a really easy way also to print that page or a segment of the page off on your computer and just glue it to the back of your layout and put it in your album, and then the information's there for generations to come. So it does make it a lot easier in that respect. So let's switch back here to, so let's get to this week's challenge. So this week's challenge is to sort your memorabilia into a filing or storage system. Get it all labeled, the memorabilia with the locations of coordinating pictures and journaling notes. So whether you're using an electronic journal or a handwritten journal. And here's the other thing. Some people like to handwrite journals at night before they go to bed. It's sort of part of their routine. It kind of closes up the day, but they like that actual physical task of writing things down in that cool little journal. That I love to write, actually physically write things down. So if you keep a handwritten journal, you might also keep a digital journal and put both of those pieces of information in with your pictures or your memorabilia, so you've got those two things tied together. The other thing is, which I know is hard for some people, is that I have a tendency to tear the pages out of my journal when I scrapbook and glue them on the back of the layout as well. So there's another idea if you don't want to rewrite things, or you like the idea of keeping your actual handwriting, but you don't want to do it on this front of your scrapbook pages to do that. But just link the things together so that you can find them. So, and then create an online journal on your desktop. You can easily add to it, and if you use a smartphone, set it up to sync. If you don't know how to sync that journal page with your smartphone, then you can ask a teenage child or neighbor, somebody. Teenagers can figure that stuff out really quickly. And then you have it linked together. So syncing it to the phone makes things really easy as well. And then start a holding album for your next or current scrapbooking project. So even if you're in the middle of a project and you've got pictures and stuff stacked all over the place, gather them up and reorganize them into a holding album system. Now, I did it in a notebook because it was easier and visible, and it keeps everything kind of neat and tidy. But you could actually create a holding album in a file folder. I know Creative Memories used to have a box they think they called the Power Scrap box or something, which I think is the same kind of idea where you're stacking up by layout. So there's all kinds of different ways to do it. If you're not using the ScrapRack pages or something from the office supply store, there are other options as well. It's just the concept of getting it all together. And then I want you to sort one container of stuff, so any kind of embellishments, or it could be pictures, and at this point it could be embellishments, it could be anything that's still kind of hovering around your crafting area that's undefined. And then 4 inches of paper. If you saw paper to start, your goal this week is 4 inches. And then post your progress on Facebook, ladies, so we know how you're doing. I love reading the posts on Facebook. I especially love reading the posts for people who didn't really get anything done, who approach it with a strong sense of humor. So those things really, I think, kind of make me smile and whatever. And life gets in the way of scrapbooking. Unfortunately, we understand that. But just the idea that you're staying focused on it and that you're staying aware of it is half the battle. So even if you're posting that you're not getting anything done, it's fun to read the post, and I'm glad that you're engaged and participating as best as you can. So, all right, I'm going to open my question pane back up here, and we'll answer the questions that I didn't get to in the beginning. Whoops. And answer any new questions. So let me get back to the top here. Let's see. We talked about Trish and sorting photos. Marcia asks, have organized alphas by size. Now within each size category, should I sub-organize by color or type of alpha, like titles, rub-ons, stickers, etc.? It just depends, Marcia. I think that the main goal, getting them together by size, is really the most important thing. So think about how you scrap and how you like to do things. And if you like things kind of all mixed up, you know, like maybe you're a scrapbooker that does a lot of collage-y things, then it might be good to leave your alphabet sort of mixed up so that you do get that visual of, maybe I could use a sticker and a rub-on, or a sticker and a chipboard, or whatever it is, and they're kind of like that already when they're presented to you. Maybe you're somebody who likes to scrap with very structured and clean, you know, lines, in which case it might be to your benefit to put all those things, you know, more together. So this kind of depends on your time and how you scrapbook at that point, I would say. So you know yourself best. So whatever's going to be most inspiring to you and most useful to you in the way that you scrap. Kim says, is it okay to postpone a challenge because we aren't ready emotionally to do it? And so I'm guessing that Kim's question is about photographs. And I would say, sure, of course it is. But also, here's my little soapbox, right? Sometimes when we're not ready emotionally to do something, it's a really good time to sort of challenge yourself and get outside your comfort zone and do something that might make you a little bit uncomfortable. Now, obviously, I don't know Kim's exact situation, or, you know, whatever. I could speculate on those things all day long, I guess. But sometimes when you're a little bit uncomfortable about something and you don't want to make hard decisions, it's better to make yourself uncomfortable and try it, and just, even if it's just a little bit of something, so that you can see there's really nothing there that's going to be damaging to you. I mean, if you face that challenge, even if it's just a little tiny bit of the challenge. I talked a little bit before we started about fear and what fear does to us. You know, it sounds silly talking about being fearful of your scrapbooking supplies, but there's so much more to the brain than that. So if you can face that little bit of it, then it's going to make it a little bit easier later. There's a kind of therapy called, I don't remember what it's called, but the idea behind the therapy is you imagine what it would be like if, in fact, this thing was done. So let's use picture sorting. Now, this therapy is designed for major behavioral changes and relationship therapy, but it works for everything. It works in everything in your life. So let's think, what would it be like if my photos were sorted? How would that look? Well, it would look like 6 photo storage boxes on my shelf, all clearly labeled with a date. And when I open them up, I would see this inside of them, right? So then what you do in this therapy is you take some little tiny piece of that, okay, and how would that happen? You know, what would be the first sign that that was happening? The first sign that that was happening would be that I, you know, had the boxes empty and labeled on the shelf. And so in this therapy, now remember, I know this is kind of goofy, I always feel like this is a nerd. Now the therapy was designed to help people with relationships and behavior or whatever, but it works for everything. So you get those boxes and they're labeled on the shelf. Well, now when you look at that shelf, you go, look, I've already done the first step. What's step number 2? And you break things down into these tiny little steps, and then pretty soon you're moving through that. So even when it's really emotional, one of the things about emotion is that it's not going to go away. You have to go through it to get to a healthy end to something. So finding your way to push into something, even if just a tiny bit, is going to be very helpful. But depending on your situation, you can always come back to a challenge later. That's another thing this challenge is designed to do. So depending on what's going on, I would say yes. Larissa says, Tiffany, thank you so much for offering these. This is my second time through the challenge. These help me be motivated and also some accountability. I love my ScrapRack and probably going to need to extend it as I continue to get my stuff in order. Thank you. Kim says, my screen looks different than the last 3 times. Should it? I do hear you. You should see the same. It might have been on a different, it might have been on the opening screen actually, so it's probably fine now. Mary says, what should be on our screen? So those are from the beginning. They're all at 9 o'clock. We talked about, Angie says, yay, I haven't been able to get in for the past 2 weeks, so finally I got here. Welcome, Angie. We're so glad to have you with us. Sharon says, my biggest scrapper's block is feeling guilty for spending too much time in my scrap room and not with my family. Guilt is an amazing thing, isn't it? So does your family think that they're being abandoned, I guess is the question. I mean, again, you have to think about your thinking on this, and are you not feeding anybody and not cleaning the house and not remembering to pick kids up from softball or baseball practice, then you maybe probably have an issue. But if the guilt is just your standard mama guilt, you could probably make yourself feel better just with a conversation with your family, letting them know to come in and let you know that you're being neglectful in a kind way. But I bet it's just your mama guilt, Sharon. I bet it's not real. So ask your family. That's interesting. I'd love to hear what happens from that, actually. So guilt is an amazing thing. Works amazing wonders on the brain. Francie says, is the picture I see supposed to be the picture of your work surface, or I am not getting the video part of the program? I think it's probably, those are all early on. So let's see. There's just a bunch of greeting here about the screen. Let's get down here. So there's the answers to my can you hear me? Sharon says, it looks like your holding album is separate. Why not use this binder and keep it right with your ScrapRack? It actually is, I actually have a binder on my ScrapRack. I guess the one I showed you was in the travel pack, sort of reinforcing that idea that going to a cropper class, boom, you pull that binder and throw it in your travel pack, or you pull that binder and put it in the travel pack to go to a cropper class. So yes, I would actually have it on my ScrapRack when I'm scrapbooking at the office. I tend to scrapbook more at home now, where I just take the binders. I practice exactly what I preach. When I go home, I take the binders that I'm going to work with off my base unit. I put them into one of those square totes from Office Depot. I have a base unit that stays in that tote. And then when I get home, I just pop it all up and I sit at the dining room table when I'm scrapbooking at home. So I really am a user of all the things that I profess to do. But yes, I do actually have it on my base unit. Heidi says, if it is a 3D project that can't fit in an album, I had my kids hang them on a bulletin board and take a picture of them in front of it. That way the project was saved and the age of the child preserved with the project. So going back to what I was talking about the big tote, so those kind of solutions are perfect, especially because then you don't have to hold on to that 3D project either. You take the picture, you add a note into your journal, and that matches the date and the information that's on the picture, so it's connected digitally if you haven't printed the picture and if it is printed. So perfect solution, Heidi. Kate Pond says, when we take a road trip, I buy an expanding file to put the memorabilia in as we travel. Excellent. A great way to keep it organized as you go. We have the new page planner pages that are coming out, which would be a perfect thing to take on a road trip as well, because they're a little bit sturdy and durable, but they have different size pockets, so you could group that memorabilia in different pockets, and if you have pictures or postcards or whatever, those are going to go right in that pocket as well. But that's a great way to travel so that you're keeping everything organized and together, and then when you get home, it's really easy to put it together with your pictures. So Marcia says, why wouldn't the holding album stuff just go in the scene section? So when you say the holding album stuff, I'm assuming that you're talking about like the SeaWorld stuff or whatever. So there we go. I'm sorry, I'm reading ahead. So the only time I would put those things together is when I'm actually when it's actually only going with those pictures. But in general, I would keep stuff right in the theme section to find it. So if it's only going to be used with those pictures, would I put it in the holding album? So there's some no sound, no sound. Let me skip through all this. Let's see. So I think we fixed it. Okay, so we're back here. Dorothy says, I put bear. I don't know, I typed it really fast on my screen, right? I put B-A-R-E, bear with you. She says, I'm not taking off my clothes, but I will bear with you. That was cute. Thank you, Dorothy, for your humor. I love it. Judy says, I am stumped with what to do with several small pads of 4x6 paper. They are too full to take apart. Where do they go? They go right in with your paper. So hopefully you're using vertical storage, and that makes it even easy to put smaller paper in with bigger paper. Now, if you're stacking your papers up, which I don't recommend, then you're going to have to stack up your 4x6s or your 6x6s next to it. If you're using vertical storage, just take that 6x6 pad and put it, if it's a pad of colored paper, stand it up right there in your vertical storage with the pad, with the open side of the pad out. So the side of the pad that has the glue on it that holds all the paper together is actually tucked in, and that allows you to flip through the pages easily with your, thumb through those pages and see what's in that 6x6 pad. So if it's a theme pad, like maybe it's all about boys, or it's a Christmas theme pad, it's going to go in next with your theme paper or your calendar paper. And if it's a solid colored pad, it's going to go in front or in back of the rainbow, however you do multicolored stuff. But the idea is that when you're actually scrapbooking, it's there and it's visible. So you don't have to take it all apart. You just have to see it and remember it, and then you can thumb through it and see if there's something in there that you're going to use. So this is another reason why you don't want to stack your papers. If it's standing up, it's easy to thumb through and you can see it. Angie says, what do you do with any photos left over after you have scrapped your pages, like ones we printed years ago? Do you store them in photo boxes, as we talked about before, storing them? Yes and no. There's different reasons to keep pictures and different reasons to throw them away. So when I organized all my pictures chronologically, and I put them into these chronological boxes, and I had the pictures out of the things that I was going to scrap, but everything else is still chronological. So these are what I call the just okay pictures, right? I'm not going to put them in my scrapbook, but that guilty mama feeling won't allow me to throw them away either. So those are, and that's where all your leftover pictures would go as well. So you've got your chronological just okay boxes. You finish your Disney album or your summer album or whatever. You've got a handful of pictures left. Even though the pictures have been scrapped and you've stored those memories, you've got those memories in your scrapbook, that mama instinct, that guilt feeling won't allow you to throw those extra pictures away. So take those extra pictures and put them chronologically wherever they belong in your chronological photo storage boxes, right? And you can use little sticky notes to, indicate breaks or dates or major events in there. So if you took the lid off the box 10 years from now, you would clearly see what was Christmas of 1999 and what was the Disney trip of 2001 or whatever, if you can't throw them away. Now, remember, ladies, we have more pictures right now than if you took all the pictures that had ever been taken of every person that was ever part of your family line from the time photography was invented up to the year 2000, maybe a little before that, because I think digital came out just before that, but 2000 is when it started getting affordable, I guess, cameras. If you took all of those pictures from all of those people, you probably have more pictures now of your family since you started shooting digitally than all of those pictures combined. Right? But for some reason, because pictures used to be unique and special and a one-time thing, I mean, there was negatives, but in general, it was a different sort of realm. Pictures, we still sort of think that way, that we have to keep all of these pictures. Again, the guilt thing. So if you can really get into your brain and rationalize, I don't need to keep all of these pictures, then it makes it easier to throw them away, which is very difficult to do. Okay, so my suggestion to you is just to put them in chronological order and use some sticky notes. And then whenever you have family or friends over, these are the boxes of photos that you don't want to throw away, but you don't really need. And at that point, you can offer them to your family or friends or whatever the situation is to go through them, keeping them in chronological order, and they can take whatever pictures out of those boxes that they want, so that you're actually sharing them with other people who want the pictures. But if you can't throw them away, just put the pictures in chronological order. So do you love it, you guys, when you ask me a simple question and it just turns into my big soap talk? Sorry about that. Krista says, I like your idea of changing the names of the picture files to include keywords. I also added a few symbols to note if it was ready to print or already printed. Thanks for the inspiration. You're so welcome, Krista. I'm glad it's working for you. Marion says, did you post that perpetual calendar? I could not find one, and I love the idea. I may have only uploaded it to the website. I'll take a look for it and include it in the follow-up email that goes out this afternoon. Sorry about that if I missed that. I do have it on my list, though. Kate says, are the first 4 installments available? I didn't realize I would be starting with the 5th class. They are, Kate. So if you go to the website, I'll bring it up here on the background. So when you go to the ScrapRack.com, it comes up this big pink screen. When you just click into it right over here, Overwhelmed to Organize on the left side, you can see where the block is lighting up pink. If you just click on that block, then you can scroll down to the pages, and you will see the first 4. That's what all these black blocks are here, installments, so you can watch them at your leisure. Candy says, huge brain cramp this morning. I joined the webinar 40 minutes late. Can't wait to watch it later. Thanks for posting these. So you're so welcome, Candy. Candy also says, I finally got all 15 feet of my paper sorted this week. What a great feeling. And now I can actually find what I need. Thanks for this great system, Tiffany. You're so welcome. I'd love to see a picture of your 15 feet of paper, Candy. And so would everybody on Facebook. It's so much fun to see people's progress. And for people who are kind of struggling to get going or to stay motivated when they see some major amount of work that's been completed, is reinforcing that if this person can do it with 15 feet, I can certainly do it with 5 feet of paper. So it provides motivation to others. Cynthia says, I have 3 children. Should I make an album for each with just their pictures or put them all in one album? Thanks, Cindy from PA. It just depends on what you want to do. I'll tell you, when I started doing 3 albums, one for myself and one for each of my kids, I thought that was a great idea. And then, you know, years into it, I realized that that now I have 3 sets of albums, and both my kids have their own sets. So who's going to want my set when I go? And so at that point, I started transitioning over to just doing 2 sets of albums, which is a little bit more complicated because obviously if I have a set of albums for London, they're more focused on London, and then if I was using the second set for Max, this is again a crazy guilty thing, right? That's in the female brain. So I just felt like, well, if I was going to do the family albums thinking that they would eventually go to Max, then I needed to focus those on Max, and then I thought, well, that's not right for the family album. There's all this like mental stuff that goes on in there about reconciling those things. So that's really what you have to decide. As your kids grow up and move away, you know, do you want to have these albums that you can give to them? I know my mother did 2 albums for me, and they took me birth through 25. She didn't give it to me till I was 32, I think. I got it for Christmas, the double album set. And it was really, really a great gift. Now, I have 2 sons. Are they going to appreciate it? I don't know. So I definitely think there's some value to doing more than one set if you have more than one kid. Some of it depends on who those kids are and how important it is to them as well. And again, with your time. If you don't really have time to do it, the other beautiful thing is that you can just take those pages, scan them, and have them printed into multiple books so that if you just do a family album, as your kids get older, you can scan those and have them printed at SnapFist or something and bound into a book and give your kids exact copies of the family albums and call it a done deal. So this kind of depends. The other thing, you know, time is a huge thing too. So I'm sorry, Cynthia, I don't have a good answer for you. There's my rambling thoughts about it, though. Karen says, are you able to post prior to the webinar so that we can make sure that we get here? It will show as a notification to most of us. Thank you. Are you able to post prior to the webinar so that we can make sure how we get here? I'm not really clear on the question, Karen. So, so if you can re-enter it, that'd be great. Let's see. Sarah says, I kind of stalled out on this step from the last series. So this is great for me to be reinvigorated. I've gotten a mandate from my husband that he would like the pool table cleared off by the weekend. So hopefully he'll watch the little one so I can get that done. Win-win. Yes, exactly. You get the buy-in from your husband to watch the kids, and then you can get your organizing done. So sounds like a perfect solution. Sharon says, I know it is just mommy guilt. Everyone is in their own world. Hubby watching the old reruns of TV. Son is online with the world playing his Xbox, and daughter is searching for the newest music they can find, but I still feel guilty. Okay, well, see, if it's just mommy guilt, then you can relieve the mommy guilt pretty easily just by having a conversation with them and telling them that you say, hey, I don't want you to think I'm unavailable to you. I know you're doing your own thing, and I'm over here scrapbooking, but I just want you to know my door is always open, and if you need something or want to do something with me, I'm happy to do that with you. And then that'll relieve your guilt. So Mary Price says, 2 questions if you don't mind, but I didn't get any questions, Mary. Kathy says, I'm bringing my 2 granddaughters to the Chantilly Great American Scrapbook Show. I hope to see you there, and thank you for doing these webinars. I've been lucky that I can listen to you, no camera. Well, at work, my boss is overseas. I'm glad you're enjoying the webinars, Kathy, and I'm excited to meet you too. It's really fun for me when we're out at shows to actually meet the people who are participating in the webinar and put a face with the names that I see pop up on my screen all the time. So if you are going to be at any of the shows that we're going to be at, please come by the booth and take a picture and post it on Facebook. I love it. It's so much fun. So so thank you for that, Kathy. I'm looking forward to meeting with you too, and I'm glad that your boss is overseas. You can join us. Brenda says, when sorting paper, should I separate patterns like spots, flowers, stripes, or just leave it together? Again, it just depends on you as a scrapbooker and what's important to you. So I do sort mine by, I have my solids, and then behind the solids I do dots, florals, plaid, stripes. I think I do distressed dots. I think it's distressed dots, florals, plaid, stripes. And so that I can thumb through them and I see them in groups. But I tend to be someone when I'm scrapbooking that I look at a layout and I say to myself, I want a dotted background, or I want a striped matting paper on this or whatever, and then I can go exactly there to find it. If your brain doesn't work that way and you tend to think, I just want a pattern behind this, and it's not going to matter as much, and you might actually find inspiration flipping through it and seeing all the different ones. So just take a few minutes and evaluate your own, how you think and what you're most likely to do, and then sort them that way. If you don't have a lot of time, it's almost better if you just get them into the color group first, so then you can actually use them and start working with them. And then when you have a little bit more time and you kind of see how you're scrapbooking using the system, then you can sort them a little bit more definite. The other thing is, if you have kids who are, especially certain ages of kids, but sorting and organizing is really fun for them, you could give them a whole stack of pink printed and say, put all my florals together, put all my dots, this is what distressed is, put all those together, and then they could do that for you as well. So a couple of different options there. Lori says, hi, it's Lori here. Thank you for picking me. My email is LoriAnn29. I will get that out to you, Lori, or I will actually get it to Joanna too. She'll probably be the one you hear from. So LoriAnn29, I'm writing it down. I don't need to be telling everybody your email address there, but we'll get your coupon out to you, Lori. Congratulations. Mary Price says, when will the new pages be available? And is anyone else overwhelmed with the amount of memorabilia and photos they have to sort? I have gotten a commitment from my husband and daughter for 2 hours, one night each week for a family sorting night. I hope we can get through it all by the end of the year. First of all, Lori, I think you've made an excellent deal getting your family to buy in and help you, and I think that you'll find that you probably end up doing more as you're going through the process, because it really becomes fun and interesting to talk about the places that you've been and the things that you've seen together and collecting their thoughts on those things too. So I think that was an excellent choice to get them to commit to helping you. You asked about overwhelm, and I can't specifically list anyone who's overwhelmed. I'm sure if you go on Facebook, it's not, there are lots of us who are overwhelmed in the process of photos because we have so many, especially with digital. So don't feel like you're alone. You're definitely not alone. When will the new pages be available? End of the month. And so they will go up for pre-order on the website probably on the 15th. That's my target date for getting them up. We just got some samples back in yesterday so I just need to take some pictures so you can clearly see what's going on with each of the pages. And then I'll be able to put them up for pre-order. So I'm guessing by the 15th, and of course we'll send out an email about that. Lori says, I'm enjoying the guidance on organizing my room treasures. Thank you, and I can't thank you enough. You're so welcome. I love teaching this. Angie says, yes, I have the guilty mom syndrome. Thanks for the input. Okay, that's what I've been doing because all my baby and teenage photos were lost in a fire. So I tend to hoard pictures in case of the same thing happening in my kids' photos. I use the safe deposit box for my negatives. Thanks so much for the advice. You're so welcome, Angie. And, you know, one of the things we didn't talk about is that in the previous webinar is about storing pictures. So obviously you can keep your negatives at a bank in a safe deposit box. That's a great option, especially for having negatives, which we don't have too many of anymore. But there's also off-site storage where you can, you know, store your pictures online somewhere. There are some issues with that about companies going out of business, and so you've got all these pictures stored there, and then what happens to those should that company go out of business? So it's something you have to pay attention to. There's the option of getting a terabyte drive that just backs up your pictures or that stores all your pictures so they're on something separate. One of the best ideas that I'd heard, especially for people who live somewhere where there's weather and natural disaster is a real option, is two things. One of them is just mailing CDs or thumb drives to a friend or family member in another part of the country to store for you. So it used to be CDs, but now thumb drives are so inexpensive and they hold so many photos that I have some clients who will once a month download everything on their computer to a big thumb drive, and then they'll send that thumb drive to a friend or family member a long way away, and she will send back the last one when she receives a new one, and then that thumb drive just gets reloaded each time and back and cycled around so that the pictures, if something should happen, like a tornado, where everything disappears in your house, including your terabyte backup drive, somebody on the other side of the country has that thumb drive in storage for you. So that's a good kind of option as well. So you might think about what those options are. Candy Ford says, I posted a perpetual calendar on the website, on the Facebook group website. It's an Excel file. Thank you, Candy. So I will cross that off my list, or maybe I'll put a link to it on the Facebook page, actually, on my list. But unfortunately, she posted the link for me, but I can't cut and paste here and post to everyone. Unfortunately, I can't. That's one of the downfalls of this. So I will try to put a link in the follow-up email. But for everybody who wants to see the perpetual calendar, there is one now for sure on the Facebook page in the docs file. Doris says, I scan all the photos into my computer and then burn them to a CD, and they are stored in a safe. I live in a fire-prone area, and this protects them from fire. So there's another option for that. Candy says she also posted her 15 feet of paper. Good job, Candy. Way to get on top of it. So on the page, on the group page on Facebook. Brenda says, I've realized for cost purposes that of all the pictures that I take don't need to be 4x6. So I've decided to go ahead and make 1 to 5, max 4x6, and I send to the photo developer, and the rest in 3x5 or wallet, which I can print myself and refill ink cartridges, refilled ink cartridges. I've gotten rid of a lot of waste. So that's a great suggestion from Brenna. Again, choosing your 4x6 photos and then making the other one, the rest 3x5 or wallet, so that you, when you do print them, you're not taking up as many. Also gives your pages kind of a different look to use those wallet size photos as well. Doris says, I also burn a CD with only the pictures and albums and put it in the back of the album. Then if someone wants the pictures, it's easy to print. So that's a great suggestion, too, to put that CD in the back. You can actually buy self-adhesive CD pockets if you want to do that at Office Depot. They're made by Cardinal. So, and then you can just stick that pocket in the back of the album. And then every time you add new pages to it, you just pull out that CD and burn the pictures onto it. I know some people also scan the whole album page and burn that onto the CD as well, and that way if they want to duplicate the album like with Snapfish or something, they have all those things together at the same time. Nancy says, your son's wives will really appreciate the albums you're making. Thank you, Nancy. That's always my, that's always what I think back to. I go, well, my boys might not care, but their wives and their children will care, if for no other reason that they'll be able to torture their fathers by what they looked like and the clothes they wore in the 90s and the 2000s or whatever. So, yes, I'll be able to torture my children later, or my grandchildren will be able to torture my sons later. Denise says, how long will the recorded sessions be available on the website? I've been watching, listening, but haven't had a chance to start the challenges. I'm wanting to rewatch and hopefully work on the challenge this summer. Thanks so much for your inspiration. You're so welcome, Denise. And they'll be up. You know, we haven't even actually taken down the spring challenge ones. Those do need to come down off the site. But they usually stay up for quite a while. And the other thing about it is we start the challenges are quarterly. So when the summer challenges come down, the fall challenges are going to go up. So you'll be able to at least access those things, even if it's not the exact same one, but they all kind of stay in line. The other thing is that as I'm teaching these and getting great ideas from other people, so like the example from Jill Cooper that we had, I add those in to the webinar. So each series grows a little bit with information, or if new products come out and we have new challenges and things to organize, those things. So all of those things sort of grow with the information that I'm learning and that I'm getting in feedback from participants. So moving forward with the next challenges is probably a better option than going back and watching the old ones. So as new ones get posted, you can watch those and get new information. I hope that makes sense. Karen says, sorry, are you able to post to the Facebook page maybe 10 minutes before the webinar to remind us that it is almost time for it? Better. Yes, that makes a lot more sense, Karen. Absolutely. I will give it my best shot. Oh, and you know what else I wanted to share with all of you, and I'll put this on Facebook too. I was invited to participate in Scrap Chat, and I believe it's on the 19th. I'm going to open my calendar here so all of you will get to take a sneak peek at what's going on in my life here. But I think it's on the 19th of this month. Darn it, it's not, oh, maybe it is on here. I think it's Tuesday the 19th. Scrap Chat Twitter party is on the 19th at 6 o'clock. I'll post on Facebook. But what that is an open forum led by the Weekly Scrapper, and they do a live Twitter interview. So you don't actually hear me talk, but the leader or the facilitator or moderator, whatever she calls herself, opens this Twitter party, and then people come on and ask questions, and so and I respond back through Twitter. So it's a great little forum, and it's fun. So it's for that hour from 6 to 7 Pacific time on Tuesday, June 19th. So if you're, I'll post that on Facebook too, but it'll be really fun. So I hope that all of you will join us for that as well. But I will post on Facebook that, and I'll also try to post 10 minutes before to give everybody a little reminder. Francie said, that was a very good rambling thought to make my album and have the pages copied for each child. Thanks for that. I was worried about them splitting them up when I'm gone. So yeah, just copying it and being able to give somebody an exact duplicate. And I think too that families tend to have different family members who are more interested in keeping sort of the family history and being the keeper of the memories or whatever. So I know, like, for us, it's my sister. She's the glue that sort of holds our family together and makes sure that everybody stays connected. So she would be the natural person to get my mother's albums. So you may see some of that natural roll, and then just making the photocopies and binding them will make, most people overjoyed, because the vast majority of people don't have anybody scrapbooking for them, right? And they don't have any sort of photo albums or those kind of things. So all of that will make things very easy and joyful. So let's see. Angie says, Karen says, I have been sorting my scraps and using punches to use the little pieces. How do I file the punched pieces, flowers and leaves, etc.? Just put them in, you can do, depends what they are. So if they're really specific things, like flowers are not too terribly specific. They could go in spring. Leaves could go in spring, but they might also fit in nature. But we use flowers and leaves on things on all our pages that aren't necessarily related to spring or fall or whatever. So if the things that you punch out scream fall, right? Maybe they're orange and brown leaves, or that you're only going to use on fall pages. Otherwise, just put them in color. So you can have all kinds of different flower shapes in your color section by the color that they're punched out in. If it's something really specific, like I don't know, like a shovel and a bucket punch, you might have that in in your beach section or your kids section or whatever it is. So specific things put with the theme. If it's a snowman that's going to go in winter, you're not going to use that probably in very many other pages. So just whatever it is, put it right in with that theme or category. And don't feel like if it's a flower, it has to go in spring or summer or whatever. Or again, don't suffer that paralysis by analysis. Just put it in color if it's a solid colored flower, and then it's probably going to pop up. You need something pink, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, I have this pink floral punch or whatever. So we're perfect. Angie says, are you going to be at the Duluth, Georgia Scrapbook Convention? I'm hoping to get to come this year. She says, sorry I posted so much during this webinar. I've had webinar withdrawal from not being able to see it the past few. You're welcome to post as much as you want. I'm happy that you're engaged and delighted to answer questions. And yes, we will be in Atlanta in Duluth for the Duluth Scrapbooking Convention, which is the first weekend in July for those of you in that area who haven't heard about it. It's a Scrapbook Expo show. Mary said, some of us are not on Facebook, so the perpetual calendar is not accessible to us. Can it be posted elsewhere? Yes, let me look if I put it up here or not. I had good intentions of putting it up, and did we talk about that? Yeah, so right here where it says a plethora of pictures from, was that just the 5th? I guess so, we're only at the 12th. I'll post it right here. So see where it says download the PDFs from this webinar? Right underneath that, I will post a download of the perpetual calendar for those of you who are not on Facebook. You can check there for it. And again, I'm going to go back since we still have this spring challenge up. It probably should have been down by now. But if you go to the spring challenge, I think that's where Jill's posts were about, let me see if they're not there, I'll add them to this one too. Yeah, right here. So on this session from the last one, session number 5, Jill's template in PDF form, click here, and Jill's template in Word. So if you want to use Jill Cooper's templates for doing your little sketches and checking off that you have all the pieces of those layouts together, you can download them right here, and I will relink them again in the same way to the current one, so you can get to it from the current one as well. Karen says, yes, Nancy, great idea. So I think that's regarding Nancy's idea about, let me see, I'm scrolling back here. It says your son's wives will really enjoy the album, so maybe that's what she's referring to, just copying them and giving them to son's wives. All right. Christina says, my son-in-law lost his mom suddenly, and her albums have been a great gift to him and his sister, as they will be for the children now coming along. Yes. It is amazing, though, sometimes when you think it's so much work to scrapbook and it takes so much time and it's expensive and all of those things, but really what you're creating is just an amazing heirloom that's unique and different. I have a friend who scrapbooks for other people, and she charges $1,000 for a 40-page album. And one of my girlfriends who was initially interested in doing it, she came to me and she said, she charges $1,000. That's a lot of money. And I said to her, well, I happen to know for a fact that you spent $1,200 on a pair of diamond earrings that you gave your daughter for high school graduation, and 3 months into college, they were gone. I said, if you'd spent $1,000 on this album, I bet you your daughter would not have lost it, right? There's so much more significance there. So just, that whole idea that we're creating heirlooms that are far more valuable in the sense of what you hang on to and what you cherish than something material in the sense of just something that you bought at the store like those earrings. So way to go, ladies. When you're frustrated or you are overwhelmed or you think nobody really cares or whatever, no one cares as much as you do, you should take homage in the notion that, yes, these are very valuable things to people, and especially as we move through life, they're even more valuable. What is the website? ScrapRack.com doesn't take me there. It's you have to put the ScrapRack.com. I'll send that in. So just you got to get that word the in there. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see here. Mary says, I had to step away and didn't hear you answer the query regarding the perpetual calendar being posted in another place other than Facebook. I will post it right underneath the posting on the website, or right above it. There'll be a little link that says download the PDF from here. So just watch for that when the recorded session goes up. Christina says, they tell the story of a life well lived, don't they? They absolutely do. I mean, they're just priceless and amazing. And it's so funny because even though we're the creators of them, and we know what's in there and we know everything that's there, you still find that when you pull that scrapbook off the shelf, and you get just as sucked into it and just as enamored with it every time. I mean, you can look at those books 100 times, and every time you go through them, even though you know them because you created them, they bring this huge joy. So even my boys who say they don't care or they're not that interested, when I bring one out and start going through it, they're right next to me on the couch, focused on their own stuff in there, but they still love it. So we are doing amazing things. Cynthia says, I got this thing from a crop, but it hasn't popped up yet, so she must still be typing. So hopefully it'll pop up here in a minute, because I think we're at the end of the question list from everybody. So we have our challenge for the week, and I'll bring it back up on the screen. And there we go. So you can see the challenge for the week. And I will, as soon as the recording's done, I'll get those other links up and posted. And so Cynthia writes, I got this thing from a crop. A birth certificate shows that you were born. And then the PDF for 417 is not the perpetual calendar. No, it's not. I haven't posted the PDF. Sorry if that was confusing. I will post the PDF for the calendar on the same way that one is posted before. So just look around the video when it goes up, and you'll see a link to the PDF to the perpetual calendar. Sorry, I wasn't very clear on that. Candy says, I see Jill's template, but I'm not sure what it's for. Did you discuss it earlier in the webinar? I did, Candy, and what it's for is you can print that off, and then you can do mini layout sketches on that and put it right in your holding album. So sometimes we have these great ideas about what we're going to do as we're putting our holding albums together, and by the time we actually get to the project, we've sort of forgotten what our ideas were. And so this just gives you a little place to sketch out your layout idea and know that you've got the memorabilia and the journaling and the photos all done, and you can put it right into your holding album so you're just reminded of what you wanted to do at that point. So, let's see. So Karen says, oh, thank you. Christina says, thank you, and see you next week. I thank all of you, and I will see all of you next week. And I think, Cynthia, I only got half of your posting there, so maybe you could add it to Facebook, because I bet it's going to be a cool thing to put, especially to put up in our craft room. So, so ladies, let's get busy on this week's challenge. It'll help you move forward and actually get some scrapbooking done when you got that holding album done. I'm excited to see what you all do with this and hear about it on Facebook, and I will get these other things posted up for you as well. So thanks again for joining me, and I will see you all next week. Have a great and productive week, and hopefully you're somewhere where you're getting some nice, sunny, warm summer weather, which we got yesterday, but it's gone today. But it will be back, I have to say. So take care, ladies. I look forward to talking to you next week.